This is my Mini R56, and so far at every single stage it has put up a fight. We've had module failures, we've had breakages, and we've had a lot of swearing. Even getting stuff off the front end of this car has been a nightmare. But today, hopefully, that's all going to change. Probably not. Let's get into it anyway. So many of you will probably be wondering why the car cover is still on the car. After the last episode, the footwell module decided it didn't want to do module things anymore, and I went over to see Chris at Precision Drive in Southend. He reset the module for me, I've plugged it in and I've done the windows up, but the windows need to be reset. Now that's a relatively quick job. I'm going to get the cover off, do that off camera. I'll leave a link to the second channel in the description below. If you've had the same problem with the windows not going up and down when you open the doors, you can go and check that out over there. But I think what we need to do is get into the crux of today, which is getting that engine back together so we can try and get it a first start and hopefully cure the idling issue. Let's get into it. Okay, so the reason why it's taken a couple of days to get everything together is because we had a few things that broke, including the auxiliary cooling pump. I have a second-hand one here from LA Mini. I had to bought a couple of bits from LA Mini, so if they fancy like sponsoring in the channel, you know, get in touch. But yeah, basically this bit goes just underneath the filter housing. So we've had to order that. I've had to order a heat shield from BMW because I ordered a couple off of eBay and they all seem to be split in the same place. So this is the new one. I think this was like 50 quid, which is a lot of money to spend on something you're not actually going to see. Also, because we are into it this deep so far, you're going to focus. I've also ordered the turbo drain pipe, which is a genuine one, but it wasn't from Mini. This was £30 from a seller on eBay, and the bit that we have needed for a little while, which is this turbo feed pipe. Now, you may sit there and say, well, these bits don't need doing, and technically that is true, they don't. But when you are this far into this engine, it makes sense to do the stuff that you don't want to have to do again. So we're going to hopefully get all this back together, and I'll let you know how that goes. But I'm expecting a bit of a sweary day, so I may just sort of come and go, cut in, cut out. But I'll show you on the car what we're changing, because then you'll see why we're doing it here. So the turbo feed hose is this one up here, and that goes down the back behind the heat shielding. It comes out just down there next to the filter housing. So it makes sense to do that, because once the heat shield and everything's back in, it's difficult to get to. Also, while we're here, this is the turbo drain pipe here, and again, it's a common failure point on these cars. I'm not sure if this one's been done, but that goes up into the bottom of the turbo, and it makes sense to do that at the same time. Once they're in, we can get the heat shield back in, we can start to rebuild the engine back up. It's a very tricky, complicated job compared to the Tritec engine, and if I show you the weather, you can see we have the elements against us. So I'm going to try and do as much as I can. I'll probably time lapse some of this and I'll cut back in when we get something interesting. So we went straight in with one of the trickiest things to do, which was the turbo drain hose. So let's get into that, and I'll talk you through some of the process, and then I'll show you how it looks after it's been fitted. There we go. Amazing. There we go. Right, it's not in terrible condition, but it's definitely worth changing out while we're in there. So you can see this is the turbo end, and this is the end that goes on there. It's quite hard compared to a new one, so yeah, it's definitely worth swapping it out while we've got the opportunity for the relatively low price, because if you had to take it to a garage to get it done, it'd be costing you a small fortune. So let me grab the new one. Now these are really tricky to get in because of the location of them. What we need to do with this is just make sure that when it goes in straight and flat. It'd be helpful if I had my little mat back. I see a guy trying to do this on YouTube before, and yeah, all he had was mirrors, which is mental. It's not a job I'd want to be doing, that's for sure. Not with just mirrors anyway. I think what he was trying to say is you need to make sure that it goes in completely flat and not put the back. But really fair play to him. These are a lifesaver for tricky engines, so I'll leave a link to some of these in the description if you want to buy yourself some. But basically for hose clamps and stuff, there is no, well, I've used this tool more than probably any other tool that I've got, to be fair. Is that going on? I can see. I can see. Oh. Is that on far enough? Looks good. Right, I believe that is good. Let me show you. Here is our turbo drain. Now basically, you want to make sure that it's completely flush and not sticking down at the back. That looks okay to me. And then that goes down into the block down here. So you can see it clips on down here. It is quite tricky to get in and out, I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit of a problem, but it is done, and we can see again, I don't know if it'll focus, but that hose goes through there and then back down. Now what we need to do is get the turbo feed, which is this one here, and get that up through the gap and then back onto the top of the turbo here. So let's go and grab that, get that one out of the way, and then get the new one into place as well. These turbo hoses are a little bit tricky to get out. Again, they do some sort of weird 90-degree type shizzle going on. As usual with these N18 engines, anything that you try to do on them is complicated. The turbo hose needs to be fed back down behind the heat shield, and then it will come out. There we go. Wow. As per usual. Yeah, so I'll show you, let me just clean this up a little bit. I'll show you why we're changing it, because this one isn't bad. So, on these turbo hoses, this section here shouldn't really move up and down too much like that, because oil will then squirt out the end of it. And it's really common on these, really common. So this one has a little tiny bit of movement. This one has quite a lot. So the braided one is the go-to upgrade for these. It's quite common. A lot of people do it. It makes sense why you're in this far. The hose itself, I'll leave a link to the one from Modamini. The cost, while you're getting stuff done on the car, I would just advise you to do it because it will save you money in the long run. For the sake of I think it's a £40 hose, and the cost of labour to fit it, it's a no-brainer. So let's go and get the new one. So this is the new one from HEL, very common. This has got a heat proof coating on it, which they sell, which is up to 1200 degrees, so should be more than suitable for this. So while I'm currently wrestling away with this turbo feed hose, trying to feed it down the back here, why not do me a favour, and if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. Only 20% of people that watch these videos are actually subscribed. That's a really, really low number. So if you appreciate this content and you enjoy watching the minis on the channel, hit the button down below. It helps me out and it also shows your appreciation for the channel. We need to make sure that we use our copper washers. I'm just going to clean the oil up from around there. Make sure no dust and debris sitting on top that you're going to rub in there. If so, just be careful. You don't want to blow your turbo up. So we're going to roughly put this into position. Let's put them down there for now. Should be 2 washers, and what you need to do is put one on there, like so, and then the other one goes underneath the banjo fitting. So basically you'll put the screw through, or the bolt, he says.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
We may have an issue there. Let me just take that back out. That end is fine. This end is not fine. Why is that? We have an issue. Basically, this fitting on the end here, this bolt does not fit through there at all. It is small. Let me give them a shout and then I'll let you know what they say. Okay, right, just spoke to Tim at Modamini, Talk Monkey. We think this is the wrong end, wrong connector. Let me quickly show you why. Because the other end fits absolutely fine. This end, if I go to put this in, it just doesn't even fit. It's stuck on there. Yeah, the thread doesn't even go through it, so I don't want to force it. All it needs is this part replacing. So I'm still going to run the line in, but I'm just going to run it up to the top and leave the plug or the bolt in the turbo just to prevent anything from falling into it. So, yas. That is the top side there. This is the other end as well, just because originally people might be thinking that maybe I've put the wrong bolt in, but this side is exactly the same as well. So I'm gonna plumb it all in anyway, but just leave this tucked up. So someone was asking about how to put these in. So obviously once you've got the other line out, you can just feed this in through the top. There should be enough room underneath for you just to grab it and pull it down. So I'm going to put this in for now, just so it doesn't drop down the back, like so. And what we want to do is just get that roughly into place, and then on the other side we need to make sure that it is coming in at the right angle. So I'm just gonna grab some gloves. We need 2 of our copper washers. I'm going to put the other 2 on that bolt just so we don't lose them while we are just having a quick discussion with HEL just to see what the crack is. So yeah, basically when you're fitting these, you need to make sure that you take that washer off. Yeah, so you don't want to leave that on and then put another one into place, because otherwise it's not going to make a great seal. So let's just quickly get that out of the way. So as you can see, obviously it's got a bit of oil on it, but it should look like that. You need to make sure you take that off. We're going to replace those with the new ones that come in the kit. So you get 2 with it. You pop one on that side, and then one goes the other side of that banjo. Like so. Let me quickly show you on here. I've dropped a Modamini a quick message on Instagram with some photos. Basically, it will look like that. So hopefully that will help some of you out there. Let's just make sure we're still focused. Now, when you go to fit these, you want to make sure it goes behind the heat shielding, not in front of it, because otherwise you will have loads of issues getting it back on the car. And it is sitting in the right sort of area. So you want to just start threading it by hand. Don't tighten anything up just yet. You will have a little bit of slack and excess which you need to lose down the block. So it will sit at sort of like an angle and then go up behind. So we have our drain in place, and then we've got our turbo feed line as well, and that goes up behind the heat shielding and then comes up in this corner down here. So yep, all we're waiting for now is a message from Torque Monkey to let us know what's going on with that. But in the meantime, we're going to get some brake cleaner, clean all this up, and then we can start to actually put this back together a bit, and also need to message BMW about this hose down here. So I don't know if you can see, there should be a clip that holds that out of the way, but it's been rubbing on the side of the gearbox there, so we need to get that sorted as well. So I'm going to message them in a minute, and then we're going to start getting the heat shielding and stuff back in down here. This is the water hose that I felt some damage on, so you can see that has definitely seen better days. So I've messaged BMW, see if we've got one of them in stock. Let me show you which one is on here, just in case you've got the same issue. So basically I noticed there was a lot of gunk built up on the edge of the gearbox down here, and you can see that hose goes up through there, and then it goes to the thermostat housing. You just see the end of the connector over there. Look. So there are supposed to be some clips that hold this out the way. I've ordered them as well, just in case it was them that's causing the problem. But while we're waiting, I'll get the auxiliary cooling pump on for the turbocharger. We've had that turn up. We'll get that into place, and we can get the cat back into place as well, I think now as well. So we've got a little bit we can crack on with while we're waiting. So this is our broken auxiliary coolant pump. You can see that bit there is snapped off and missing. This is our new one up here. Now they are exactly the same, but a little hint or a little tip if you want, when you've got these type of pipes where they're obviously preset to a certain place, is to get a little paint pen like this one here. You see there's an arrow on the plug, just draw a little line so that you match it up on the new one. So if I was to put that and that side by side, when I line it back up, I know exactly where that's got to be. So let's get that swapped over, then we'll get that back on the car as well. Okay, right, our auxiliary pump is in. You see down there it's all routed in correctly. Got 2 new copper washers for up here from BMW, picked them up this morning. Pump is all in, wiring is all in, and we've got all of our sort of bracketry in place. Now there isn't much point building up this side just yet, because obviously we've still got to put that coolant pipe in when that turns up. But down here you can see we've got our heat shielding in place. We've got these brackets down here. I think they're right, but we'll find out when it comes to feeding it in, because there, I can't remember how they come off the car. I'm pretty certain they're that way round, but yeah, we'll soon find out in a minute. So just going to quickly cover off the heat shields going back in, the top oxygen sensor and the turbo heat shield. Obviously we cannot put in the top turbo feed line. That at the moment we're just waiting for another part to turn up. But once all the heat shields are back in, this is what the end result will look like. It's the next day and I've just been to BMW, and in the words of Joe Exotic,
I am never going to financially recover from this.
That coolant hose that we had the issue with, I've just picked that up. That was just under £50, I think, which is for one hose. I also got it back and I thought, I ain't the right one, it don't look right, but it is. So let's get that on the car and then I will cut back in after and show you the setup. Still not heard back about that banjo adapter ring, whatever you want to call it, on top of the turbo. I'm hoping that when they say they'll get one out ASAP, that means that it will be here today at some point, but we'll have to see. So anyway, let's get that hose on and then we can start to build up some of this front end. Let's get on with it. Right, I've had more skin taken off my fingers here, but is this the correct way that this hose goes in? So for those of you that are watching, I've probably done this before. This hose sits down here, it obviously loops over the gear linkages and comes down, but the thing that's bothering me is this clip here. So it doesn't seem like good design to have that clip sitting against the gearbox, but obviously that does clip in to the rail down there. So if you have experience with this particular hose, let me know if this is right or if I need to be moving it along slightly. It seems okay. I'm just not sure whether maybe that's supposed to sit a bit further up on there and then therefore it pulls it further out of the way. I don't really know, but let me know if you do. But yes, anyway, make your life easier, take out the air ducting through here. That gives you more access to the thermostat housing, which is where that needs to clip onto. So yeah, hopefully that's been a little bit useful. However, that hose was very pricey, so don't want to be buying another one of those in a hurry. Right, so at the moment we're hunting down the cause of the idling issue. The girl that owned the car before, she did tell me that this issue had persisted and they should have a few things done, but 4 or 5 garages never got to the bottom of it. So I'm not saying I'm any better than them, because I don't. If this was a W11 engine, I'd probably be pretty confident of finding the issue, but with this engine being something a little bit different to the norm, I've called in some assistance. So I've got a mate who works in a garage. He's got access to auto data, and we're just doing a couple of pre-tests on the wiring just to make sure that everything's connected. So on the MAF sensor, obviously the intake tube and that's missing, but there is an orange wire on the MAF sensor up here. That basically goes all the way back to the DME. This is the plug A, so plug A is always in the middle on the DME, and we need pin 41. So on here, that is that pin there. So basically what we're going to do in a minute is we're going to test for resistance between that orange wire there and pin 41. We need less than 1 ohm, which I'm pretty confident we will get unless there is a break in the wire. And if there is a break in the wire, that might explain why we're getting issues with our idling. So I will bring you a little bit closer so you can see the reading on the meter down here. Currently it says 999. That's what we will get if we have a break in the cable. We won't have any continuity on it. So let's give it a go. Orange wire on the MAF sensor. That's working perfectly fine. So you can see we have continuity there. It's giving us a reading of 0. When we take it off, it goes back to 999. So it rules out a potential break in a cable between the MAF sensor and the DME. So I appreciate that that's not got to the bottom of it, but it is part of the fault finding. So if you're having a similar issue, you could always do the same sort of thing and see if you've got a wire break between there and there. So I'm going to pop all this back together. We'll have a quick chat about what else we've been up to. So one thing that I do need to change is this aircon rad, or the condenser. If you look at the front down here, there are hardly any fins left in there, and there is actually no gas in the system at the moment. So I'm going to quickly, I've ordered a new one from GSF that's turned up, so we're going to get this off while we're waiting, get the new one into place, and then we'll get that re-gassed once the car is on the road. So this aircon condenser is completely rotten. There is no gas in the system, but if you're planning on changing your one out, make sure that the gas has been vacuumed out by an approved garage. You can see this one is completely rotten by looking at the bottom of it. There's no fins, and the bottom section of the condenser itself has started to rot away. This new one from GSF was just under £70, but before we fit it, we're going to vacuum out the intercooler and the radiator just to make sure that moving forwards it's not going to obstruct any airflow. Once the new one is in place and all bolted back into position, once the car is back on the road, we can get the aircon regassed, and then we should have some nice cool air conditioning moving into the summer months. So first of all, massive thank you to everyone who watched last week's video, and a massive thank you to everyone who left me comments on what could be causing the idle issue on this car. You guys absolutely smashed it, honestly. Probably the best video I've put out so far to date that's been received by you guys, and you absolutely smashed those comments with all your suggestions, many of which I've taken on board and many of which I've had a look at. So first of all, the car this week, I cannot start it. I've tried to get this in day to day in the right size. No one does them. I can order them off of Amazon, but they're the wrong thread. HEL have been a little bit, well, I'll not say absent, but I've basically been asking if I can have a tracking number for the replacement part, because obviously this is off their braided hose and it's not my mistake. I just need a replacement so I can get the engine running. They give me a tracking number, so hopefully, fingers crossed, I might get it this weekend. If not, it'll be early next week. But these videos go out on Sundays and I need to get them all edited. So yeah, long story short, car's not starting this week. Because of that, car should be started next week, hopefully. Now, in terms of fault finding, you guys smashed the comments with all of your ideas on what could be causing the idle issue on this car. And if you can see in the background, because of all the stuff we've had going on, the battery's a little bit flat. So I've got it on charge at the moment so that when it gets to next week's video and the car can be running, we can get straight into it. Now, there are a few things that I've managed to do off camera, and there are a few things I've done on camera. So let me quickly explain what we've done, and then you can tell me if you guys suspect anything that we've covered off may have been causing our problem. So first of all, the Vanos solenoids intake and exhaust. I'll show the intake one on screen now. Had a little bit of crud on it. Exhaust was absolutely clear. The intake one, what I've done with that is given it a good clean up. Well, I've done it with both. Given it a good clean up, put fresh engine oil over them, and then pop them back in. So they are all now clean. So let me know if you think the intake one could have been causing our problem. Next point is the spark plugs. I've changed the spark plugs. This is one that came off the car. Let me know if you think they might have had it, and that might be what's causing it. But they've got new ones in, new Bosch ones. They are in the car now. Hopefully that'll at least make it run a little bit smoother. MAF sensor I have changed. The previous owner did have a chat with me on Instagram. She did tell me they put a new MAF sensor in last year. The manufacturing date on that does say 2024. So I fully believe her, but I had one on order anyway. So I've cleaned that one up with some MAS air sensor cleaner, and I popped that one in the car just to eliminate that as well. At the same time, earlier in the video, you would have seen we tested between the orange cable on the MAF sensor and A41 on the ECU connector. That had perfect continuity. So again, that cable's not broken. It might be worth doing that if you are having a few issues and you can't get to the bottom of it, because that cable actually does a lot of different stuff on the car. It's not just for the MAF sensor. It gives data to other parts of the car. Upstream, downstream oxygen sensors, we've also cleaned those when they've been off the car, popped them back in. The catalytic converter, I can't see inside it. I have got a borescope, couldn't find it in there, but from what I could see, it looked okay. So I don't think that's the problem, but let me know if you suspect it might be. So yes, the only other suggestions I think that we haven't done, which people did come up with, was take the intake manifold off, check the inlet valves and throttle body. Now, I will potentially do that, but I want to leave that till one of the last things that we do, purely because it's very labour intensive to get it off. But if it's what needs to be done, it needs to be done. I will do it, but obviously if it is blocked up, to clean it, it needs to go to a garage because it needs to be walnut blasted. I can't do that on my driveway. So that is about everything, I believe. Obviously there are other stuff that we've done which I've covered off: filter housing gaskets, aircon rad, coolant hoses, all that sort of stuff. But actually, coolant hose, remind me just quickly, obviously I've shown you this earlier, this hole here. Let me put you on screen the inside of that pipe, because you can see that that would have gone at any time. So yeah, hopefully you've all enjoyed it. Obviously we'll get a bit more into the video fault finding engine started next week when this actually turns up. But yeah, let me know if you think we may have already covered off the problem with some of the stuff that I've shown you, or if you suspect it might still be there. And we'll see next week who is right. But if you haven't already and you've got this far, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you have subscribed already, don't forget to leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think, and a thumbs up on the video. Thank you everyone for watching this week's video, and I will catch you all again next week.